Welcome back to our Cruise News podcast.
Brought to you by our producer, Travel 1609.
Hi, we're Joe and Donna, your hosts of Stellar Insights.
And for those who are just joining us,
We're a retired couple, happily married, and
total hipped on cruising.
absolutely, between the two of us, we've sailed on 35 different ships.
35.
So we've seen a thing or two.
That's for sure.
And today, we thought we'd take a deep dive into the cruise news that's probably been making headlines this past week, from April 1st to 5th, 2025.
Yeah, we've got everything from some wild weather encounters to some pretty serious health concerns, exciting ship upgrades.
Even some changes in where ships are sailing, those kinds of things. So consider this your shortcut to understanding what's really happening out there on the high seas.
Exactly.
So where should we start?
Oh, I think we have to start with the Drake Passage. That story was just wild.
Right, the one Fox News reported on April 4th.
Yeah, about the Quark Expedition's Ocean Explorer.
Running into some truly monstrous waves.
I mean, we're talking 40 feet.
40 feet? Can you imagine?
Just think about it.
I mean, even a decent swell can be a little unnerving.
Absolutely.
40 feet is a whole different ballgame. That's like a 4-story building.
Oh, 4-story building.
Yeah. I mean, the report was pretty vivid. Passengers getting tossed around, hitting walls, furniture sliding.
Sounds a bit like a seasick nightmare.
It does, doesn't it? And, we've been on 35 cruises.
Yeah.
We've experienced some rolling seas.
Yeah.
But that sounds pretty intense.
That sounds exceptionally intense.
Yeah.
And, the Drake Passage, it's notoriously rough.
Right.
It's where the Atlantic, Pacific, and Southern Oceans all collide.
Mm-hmm.
So the currents are powerful. The weather can change in an instant.
Unpredictable.
Extremely unpredictable.
Yeah.
And, while these modern expedition ships, like the Ocean Explorer, they're built for tough conditions.
Yeah, they have reinforced hulls, those fancy stabilization systems.
Right. But even those systems have their limits.
Right.
And this event just really highlights the fact that...
Nature is powerful.
Exactly. When you choose those adventurous itineraries,
Yeah.
those more remote, wild destinations...
You're kind of accepting that risk.
You are.
Yeah.
You're accepting the possibility of encountering nature in its rawest form.
And it really makes you think, as a potential passenger, about the safety measures in place.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you're going to these remote locations,
Yeah.
you're really relying on the expertise of the expedition company.
You are. And you're also relying on the ship's crew to handle those extreme conditions.
It's a different kind of cruising experience, that's for sure.
It is.
Okay, so from that dramatic encounter with Mother Nature,
Yeah.
let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another significant story.
Okay.
This one's a bit closer to home, actually.
All right.
It's about a widespread illness on a cruise ship.
Oh, right.
We've seen reports from Fox News, CBS News, CNN,
Yeah, multiple sources.
all detailing a pretty significant norovirus outbreak
Uh-oh.
on Cunard's Queen Mary 2.
The Queen Mary, too.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big ship.
It is a massive ship. And this particular voyage was a transatlantic journey,
Okay.
a whole month long. It set sail from Southampton back on March 8th.
Wow.
And as of this week, reports indicate that a substantial number of passengers,
How many are we talking?
224 out of the 2,538 passengers,
Okay.
and 17 crew members, they all contracted norovirus.
Wow, so almost 10% of the passengers.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It is.
And it's not a pleasant illness either.
No. Diarrhea, vomiting.
Not fun. And the fact that this outbreak was reported to the CDC back on March 18th means it wasn't just a small, isolated incident.
Yeah, it wasn't something that just went away quickly.
Right. It's been ongoing. And what's even more concerning is that the ship was still at sea this week.
So even weeks after the outbreak was reported,
Yeah.
they were still dealing with it.
Which just really highlights the challenges, of containing a highly contagious illness.
In that kind of environment.
Right. In the close confines of a cruise ship.
Yeah. It's a perfect breeding ground for viruses like norovirus.
I mean, think about it. You've got thousands of people
Living in close proximity.
sharing meals, using the same facility.
Stretching surfaces.
Exactly.
It spreads like wildfire.
And even with, the most diligent hygiene practices,
Yeah.
transmission can still happen.
It can.
Of course, they implemented those enhanced sanitation protocols.
Right, that's standard procedure.
Increased cleaning, isolating those affected. But still,
It's a reminder, isn't it?
it is. It brings those ongoing conversations about health risks on cruises.
Especially on longer voyages.
Really into focus. I mean, we're always mindful of hygiene when we travel,
Of course.
but these kinds of outbreaks, while we hope they're infrequent,
Yeah,
they do serve as a reminder that they can occur in any communal setting.
exactly. But maybe spread more rapidly in the closed environment of a ship.
Right.
Norovirus is unfortunately pretty common in places where people are in close contact.
Right.
And cruise ships, despite their best efforts, they can be susceptible.
Right.
And I think it raises an interesting question.
What's that?
Are there specific design features or technologies that cruise lines are looking into to maybe better mitigate the spread of these illnesses in the future?
That would be interesting to know.
Right. Something to think about.
Okay, well, let's move on from that
Yeah.
and talk about some more positive news.
Okay, good.
Because there is some. Cruise Hive reported on April 2nd that Princess Cruises' Majestic Princess has gotten a bit of a makeover,
A makeover.
a pretty significant refurbishment.
Well, that's pretty standard in the industry, isn't it?
It is. It's how they keep those ships fresh, modern, appealing to passengers.
Keeps things exciting.
Right. And the Majestic Princess.
Oh, that's a pretty substantial ship.
It is. 143,700 gross tons.
Wow.
That's just a measure of the ship's internal volume,
Okay.
but it gives you an idea of the size.
Yeah, a big one.
Anyway, it went into what they call dry dock in Singapore. That's when they literally take the ship out of the water.
Oh, right, for maintenance and upgrades.
Exactly. And it sounds like they've added some really appealing features.
Like what?
Well, new culinary venues.
Ooh, I like that.
Ah,
Always interested in the food.
me too. They added the Crown Grill Steakhouse, which we know from our own cruises,
Yeah,
is often a very popular specialty restaurant.
it's usually very good.
And they added a new Harmony restaurant,
Okay.
refreshed the casino, updated the lounges.
It sounds nice.
It does, right. It seems like a pretty considerable investment
Yeah,
in enhancing the passenger experience.
absolutely.
Now, what's really interesting is that this ship was originally designed and built with the Chinese market in mind. So
Mhm.
this big refit,
Could signal a change in strategy.
right, like where they're going to deploy it.
Exactly.
And this is kind of confirmed by the fact that these enhancements are in preparation for its upcoming Australian season,
Okay.
starting in October 2025.
So they're shifting gears.
It seems like it.
Interesting.
It shows how adaptable these cruise lines are.
They have to be.
Yeah, they have to cater to different markets.
Different tastes, different expectations.
Exactly. And it's good to see them reinvesting in their vessels,
It is.
enhancing those offerings for us, the passengers.
Absolutely. And you know what? These upgrades can actually significantly boost passenger satisfaction.
I'm sure they do.
And it helps the cruise lines stay competitive.
Because it is a competitive market.
Oh, yeah. So many choices out there.
Lots of ships to choose from.
For you, the cruiser, it means even better onboard experiences.
Potentially.
Hopefully.
All right, well, let's turn our attention to a topic that,
Yeah.
well, hopefully rare,
Yeah.
still deserves some attention. Piracy concerns.
Piracy.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds a bit old-fashioned.
It does, doesn't it?
Like something out of a movie.
But The Telegraph published a report on April 3rd,
Okay.
highlighting that this is still a potential threat.
Oh.
And they actually detailed how passengers on Cunard's Queen Anne,
The Queen Anne.
were recently advised to take precautions while the ship was sailing through a region considered high risk for piracy
Where was that?
in the Philippines.
The Philippines.
Yeah. They were told to turn off their cabin lights, avoid the outer decks.
Wow.
I mean, it's a little unnerving, isn't it?
It is. Makes you realize that even though cruise ships offer this world of leisure and escape,
Right?
they're still operating in a real-world environment.
With real-world problems.
Exactly.
And the article even referenced that 2009 pirate attack on the MSC Melody.
Oh, yeah, off the coast of Somalia.
Right. I'm sure that sticks in the minds of a lot of seasoned cruisers.
It's a pretty serious incident.
It was. And thankfully, no cruise ships were directly involved in any of the 116 incidents of piracy reported globally in 2024.
Okay, that's good to hear.
That was according to the International Maritime Bureau.
Right.
But the fact that these precautions are still necessary shows that the threat hasn't gone away completely.
Right. And it's still something to be aware of.
Especially in certain regions. The Telegraph specifically mentioned the Gulf of Guinea and Southeast Asia as areas where vigilance is key.
Yeah. You know, it's a bit of a reminder that while a cruise ship can feel like a safe, self-contained resort, it's still navigating through real-world waters.
with potential dangers.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure the cruise lines have very comprehensive security protocols,
I'm sure they do.
but it's just a reminder of the risks
Right.
of international travel. Okay, finally, let's talk about some news concerning a change in port plans.
Okay.
Chron.com reported on April 1st that the Port of Galveston is looking for a new cruise line partner.
A new partner.
Yeah, this came about because Princess Cruises decided to cancel their plans to base the Majestic Princess in Galveston.
Oh, the one they just refurbished.
The very same. This
Yeah.
was part of a bigger global redeployment of their fleet.
Okay, so a strategic move.
It seems like it. They're probably looking at market demand, operational efficiency, all those things.
Right.
It must have been a bit of a setback for Galveston.
Yeah, they've really become a major cruise hub.
They have. But the report did say that the port CEO, Roger Rees,
Yeah?
is already negotiating with another cruise line as a potential replacement.
That's good news.
It is. It shows their commitment to the cruise industry.
Exactly.
And, despite this change,
Yeah,
Galveston is still a major player in the cruise world.
they are.
The article mentioned that over 400 sailings are still scheduled to depart from the port in 2025.
Wow.
So their future as a vibrant cruise port is secure.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and it just shows how dynamic this industry is.
It really does.
The cruise lines are constantly evaluating their strategies
I'm always adapting.
based on all sorts of factors. So as we wrap up this week's deep dive into cruise news,
Yeah,
it's been a week of varied developments, hasn't it?
it has.
We've seen the sheer power of the ocean.
The Drake Passage.
The challenges of maintaining health and hygiene on those longer voyages.
The norovirus outbreak.
The positive signs of reinvestment in those cruise ships.
The Majestic Princess getting that makeover.
The ongoing need for security awareness in certain parts of the world.
Piracy, yeah.
And, of course, the ever-changing world of cruise line deployments.
Affecting those port cities.
Exactly. It really gives you a snapshot of all the different facets of the cruise industry.
At this very moment in time.
Right. And what's really fascinating to me
Yeah,
is how interconnected all these seemingly separate events are.
it's true.
I mean, a strategic decision by one cruise line can have a ripple effect,
Absolutely.
affecting a whole port community.
Mm-hmm.
And an unexpected weather event can completely change the experience of passengers on a specific sailing.
It can.
It all adds up to a very complex and ever-changing landscape.
Absolutely.
And as you, our listener, think about all of this.
Yeah.
The big waves, the spread of illness, the operational changes, the security precautions.
It's a lot to take in.
What resonates with you the most?
Good question.
Is it a source of reassurance? Or maybe a cause for concern?
Yeah, what are you thinking about?
It makes you think about that balance between the allure of cruising
Mm-hmm.
and the uncertainties that come with any kind of travel,
Right.
whether it's unpredictable weather, potential health issues.
The global context.
Exactly. And while these stories can sometimes be a bit dramatic,
They can be.
they also underscore the cruise industry's constant need to adapt
They do.
and the importance of being informed travelers.
Absolutely.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep cruising.
Safe travels, everyone.